Will Leanne ever stop being mad at Tyler? Deanne Laniel. Hey, I'm Leanne. I'm not honest.
You always straighten up and then you slouch again. Hold that posture.
You're starting to be mean. Leanne doesn't do it.
I'm not moving the cameras.
Will DeMichael finally get to watch TV?
I'm not gonna cut the TV on. Leon, if you don't turn the TV off, I'm gonna watch it because they're talking about one of my favorite players.
I forgot what remote it is.
You forgot?
I got it, didn't I?
Well, now that TV is distracting.
Yeah, Leanne.
6.
Okay, I can't work with other TVs on. Will Natasha be able to get everyone to finally get along?
I believe it.
Titles on the laptop.
That's why I'm trying to stay on your good side. You didn't ask me to sit up this time.
I hope that camera got that.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. I hope that, so when I go to HR about this issue.
Y'all are all fired. I want.
Hold on, let me
new
put my
sports
phone
editors.
down. Okay.
So I forgot how to vacation. They never had the dedication. Tune in for the season finale of Hey everybody, welcome back to Checkerboard Chat, the official sports podcast of the Daily Beacon. I'm Tyler Wombles, and that's DeMichael Cole. We're back here bringing you more Tennessee athletics news, updates, and whatever we feel like talking about. Before we get into it, just got to say this is the last episode of Checkerboard Chat for the season. I want to thank all y'all for watching. It's been great. Really enjoyed it. DeMichael and I have had a great time on here. Just talking sports with you, talking Tennessee sports. It's been a great time. But we'll get into the discussion now, DeMichael, unless you had something you wanted to say.
No, let's jump into it. It's been a great year. I had a lot of fun this year, and let's do what we always do. Let's talk football.
Let's talk football. We've talked a lot of football this year, DeMichael. It seems to be a trend.
We couldn't predict what happened this year.
No.
I never would have thought in a million years that not only one firing, we covered 2 firings of higher positions, and that doesn't include all of the assistant coaches, and it was a roller coaster, but we made it somehow. We don't have, I have a little gray hair in my head.
A little bit, yeah.
I have a little bit, but
I've got a lot.
No
You
one
just
can
can't
see
it
it.
right here,
yes.
Yeah. We had a head coach get fired, and before the new coach got hired, the guy who was supposed to be hiring him got fired. So just, Oh,
don't forget the protest, the fan protest.
The fan protest, we cannot forget about that. That's what, started to lead to the demise of John Curry.
And the suspected hiring of at least, 3 coaches?
Yeah, at least. And there's probably a lot more we didn't even know about.
Yeah.
It was crazy. But y'all have been here with us the whole time, and we appreciate that. It's been a wild ride. But, obviously, last Saturday, the Tennessee football team held its annual orange and white game, the culmination of the spring practice period. It was actually the first orange and white game under new head coach Jeremy Pruitt. So just kicking off this discussion to Michael, you covered the game for us. What did you see out of Tennessee's team? What did you see out of Jeremy Pruitt, and what were some major takeaways you had?
Well, the first thing that stood out to me was Jeremy Pruitt gave them a D.
Yeah.
If you haven't figured this out yet, Jeremy Pruitt is a no nonsense type coach, and from the normal eye, there were a lot of positives to take away, but he said no. I saw a lot of players out there that looked like they wanted to quit. Those were his words. He said that he saw, and they asked him. They said, "Well, when was the last time?" He's been at Florida State, Georgia, Alabama. Those are prestigious programs like Tennessee is. But, at the time, while he was at those programs, they were winning at a pretty good rate. And they asked him, when was the last time you dealt with something like this where everyone wasn't as bought in, as you wanted them to be? And he said, he sat back for a second. He said, about 20 years.
Yeah.
So this is definitely a culture change that has to take place. And it's no nonsense. And he could have complimented Garantano. He could have said, Garantano, because personally I thought Garantano, 15 of 27, they aren't the best looking, numbers in the world.
But 2 touchdowns.
But yeah, you get 2 touchdowns. And I think the biggest takeaway was, one, he didn't turn the ball over. And he took way more risk. Me and you saw it last year. Garantano would throw all of the check downs and quick slant routes, and it'd be 3rd and 14, and he'd throw a little quick 4-yard route.
Or hold the ball too long
Or hold
and then
the
get
ball
sacked
and get
with that
sacked.
offensive line they had last year.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, it was good to see because me and you saw it when, for all, things you could have said about Quentin Dormady when he was at quarterback, that was when Marquez Callaway had his best success.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because Quentin Dormady wasn't, afraid, I guess, as much to throw the ball up for grabs and, give his receiver a chance. And I guess Garantano just didn't want to make that many mistakes. I think he only had 2 interceptions all year. And, we saw Dormady, he had his fair share of interceptions.
Yeah, he had more touchdowns, but he had more interceptions, so sort of that risk-reward.
Exactly. And now you see him stepping up and saying, okay, now I'm more comfortable taking those shots. And, I mean, he did. First few plays of the game, he goes out and he chugs the deep ball up for grabs. And I know Pruitt, like I said, he's no nonsense, and he wasn't going to come out and compliment. I had that feeling that, because Garantano, he looked a lot better from what we saw.
Yeah.
I would say that. And like I said, the main thing is he was giving the receivers a chance, and Pruitt came out was like, settle down, everyone. For one, he wasn't talking down on Garantano. It was more, I guess, to speaking up about Will McBride. He was saying, look, this is one of 15 practices.
Exactly.
Everyone hasn't seen what I've seen. Mm-hmm. And he was saying that, okay, Garantano had a great day today, but who are you to say, Will McBride probably threw for 600 yards in a private scrimmage or something? I mean, probably not. But
you never know. It could have been 559 or something. You never know.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's my biggest takeaway, his no-nonsense approach. He wasn't going to, build that hype around Garantano. And, I mean, like I said, I'd give Garantano a B.
Sure.
Off of his performance. The efficiency maybe wasn't there, 15 to 27. You want him to complete more passes. And Pruitt did talk about giving the guys a chance more. A lot of balls he felt like were thrown out of bounds, when they try to throw the jump ball. And he said him being a defensive coach, I mean, he said it was similar to baseball when you hit the ball deep and it's a long foul ball.
Yep.
So it's not a home run, it's a foul ball. So it's just a huge sigh of relief if you're a defensive coach. Yeah. And that's how he felt about it. So I think Garantano was the biggest takeaway. He won MVP of the game. But you're not going to get Pruitt to say that. No, and we'll talk about one reason why he's not going to say that later with, the guy they have coming in.
Sure, yep. We'll definitely make that a point of discussion. But, DeMichael, I think that's really interesting you mentioned that, we, during the football season, we did our own football grades.
Yeah.
That's something that we did every week. We would have football grades, grade the team by each position and even coaching. And I would dare say that Jeremy Pruitt was probably tougher on his team that day than we were in most of those grades we gave out.
I mean, we got some criticism for giving out D's instead of B minuses.
Yeah, exactly. No, it was, I had one guy respond to me actually on our Twitter page and said, well, we're watching the same game. And, it's, but yeah, I think, like you said, Jeremy Pruitt knows what kind of team he wants to build. He's been in really no-nonsense programs. Mm-hmm. He's an old-school guy. He's not in the process of, saying things and working with different emotions or whatever. He's going to say what he thinks. Yeah. And he's going to say, we need to get better. And he probably, harkens a little bit back to, his old mentor, Nick Saban. Yeah. He's not going to be probably ever satisfied. We might see him, in year 5.
You get that feeling from a Jimbo Fisher type coach too.
Yeah.
He's that kind of fiery coach too. It's just that whole background he has where all those coaches just are that, have that mentality to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think, high school coaches, I think a lot of times you see those high school coaches, they can be really tough on you.
Yeah.
And so not only has he been in, Saban's school of, being, I don't know if I'd say harsh, but being blunt and honest, and then, at a high school level, he coached at that level, so he's bringing both of those dynamics together. But, I don't think he was, trying to diminish what Garantano was doing. I don't think he's trying to diminish anybody specifically. He just says it, calls it like he sees it. Mm-hmm. He knows what's going on, and he sees it, and that's what he wants to impart.
Yeah.
But, talking a little bit about Garantano, you're right. I think he did, perform really well. You did see that. He threw for, I think last season he threw for 4 touchdowns in total, and he threw for 2 in this game. Obviously, it is a spring game, so it's a little bit different, but to throw for, half as many as he threw for the whole season before, I think that shows something. You're right. He was taking risks. He was fitting the ball, and he's fitting the ball well in some tight spots.
Oh, man, his last throw of the game, that that was one of maybe was the best throw that he had. I mean, it was to Eli Wolf, and he fitted basically between two defenders and gave Eli Wolf a chance to run after the catch, and it was a touchdown. And those are the kind of throws, I feel like last season he would have saw those two defenders and he would have looked immediately for the check down. Mm-hmm. He would have looked for the running back, and if the running back wasn't there, he probably would have panicked, either got sacked or would have had to run and get 1 yard or probably even, try to throw it away. But I mean, those are the, that's confidence. That's maturity. That's growth. So you're seeing that. And I think, Tyson Hilton's a big reason for that, too. I don't think he's getting enough credit. Obviously, it was a vanilla, simplified offense.
Sure, yeah.
Every spring game is. But, you saw it. They were under center. Yep. Then they'd be in the shotgun. It was a nice mix, a nice variation.
Even in the I formation.
Yeah,
and that was something
action,
a lot of people are excited about. You get a fullback. I don't know how long it's been since we've seen a fullback, line up in a Tennessee uniform. So that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, so I mean, just that mix and that variation to throw defenses off, and even like I said, it was vanilla, but it was different.
Sure.
And it was different enough to keep fans on their toes. And man, if he opens up this shotgun offense and this I formation, like you mentioned, or this single back where we have two tight ends on the field, and you have, we aren't even talking about the receivers yet. Like, I'm on record saying that the receivers are probably the best group on this team, and I think I like a smart man out there yesterday.
Hey, well, I don't disagree with you.
That performance that they put on was impressive. I mean, Josh Palmer, 77 receiving yards, he led the way. And we heard a lot about Josh Palmer last year. Butch talked him up a lot. And fans know about Marquez Callaway. I don't think there's, he showed the same ability to go get the jump ball.
Had another one-handed catch, in the end zone. And Brandon Johnson had a nice couple catches as well. And he had some, he's been known as probably the best route runner out of the guys. They tout him for that. And that's a nice threesome. And, Pruitt, like I said, he's not too quick to give out the compliments. But he says, those guys, those three guys in particular, they have a lot of things that you want in your receivers. And he basically just said it's up to the quarterbacks to get them the ball, like give them a chance. And, that's all they need. Yeah, so DeMichael, we're going to hit on that, that talking point that you mentioned earlier.
The quarterback.
Obviously, Keller Christ is coming in, over the summer. He's a guy that's transferring from Stanford. He's a graduate transfer. He's a guy, frankly, a lot of fans are excited about.
Yeah.
He's someone, seems like a pretty pro-style quarterback. He's a guy that, is he showed out well at Stanford. He had some good games. He did end up losing the job, but a lot of people think he could really push Garantano for that starting job, maybe even win it. So does seeing what Garantano did in the orange and white game on Saturday, does that change your perception of what Keller Christ is coming up against? Do you think maybe because Garantano won that MVP award and he played well, does that sort of change your idea of how much Keller Christ would have to do to win the job? Or do you think, like Jeremy Pruitt said, it's just one and it's just another practice?
Yeah, I think it was a little bit more than just another practice because, it was the one with the fans there and things like that. But Keller Christ coming in, you've seen him play at Stanford, and obviously, he was benched and things like that. But obviously, he's talented.
Yeah,
Keller Christ has talent. There's no doubt about that. And graduate transfers, no college football program is trying to bring in a graduate transfer to sit on the bench.
Yes, exactly.
Graduate transfers come 1 year, 2 at the most, but usually, especially in football, it's usually 1 year to play one. And that's what, Keller Christ is here for. He's not going to be able, to be here long, so he's coming to play.
Yeah, he doesn't want to waste his time.
Why else would he transfer? He's
exactly.
coming to play.
Yep.
And I think, probably before they saw what Garantano could do in the spring, it probably was a pretty good indication that he would get the job. But now, it's definitely up for grabs, and I can say it's definitely a 2-horse race. I don't think Will McBride is in that conversation as much as, I guess they were trying to make it out to be in the spring. They were trying to keep it, as a battle. But
I think after what we saw last season where, obviously Garantano did have the better stats, look better sometimes, but I think it wouldn't be hard for fans to see Will McBride sort of overtake him. But it was pretty different in that spring game.
Yeah. I always thought it was weird because Will McBride, I mean, I said it before that he benefited from the lack of good offensive line play because of his freestyle of play, but when he had to stand in the pocket and make throws and read defenses, it was harder for him. Yeah. And I mean, that's understandable. He's still a young quarterback.
Sure.
But I feel like Garantano is way ahead in that area. And Killer Chris obviously would be. For one, he went to Stanford.
Yeah.
And for two, I mean, he's experienced. And this is going to be a very good battle. And I think Garantano winning MVP of the spring game, throwing 2 touchdowns, throwing all those deep balls, even the ones that weren't caught. I mean, he's not, in this battle to lose. And I know a lot of people say, can they play 2 quarterbacks? I wonder what your thoughts are on that. But
okay.
I don't see it because Pruitt said, he was like, he jokingly said this. He was like, we may not know who our starting quarterback is until the fourth quarter of the first game of the season in Charlotte, against West Virginia. But I feel like these two are more similar than people probably make out to be. I don't think Garantano is your typical dual threat because, people say, oh, he's the dual threat. And
that's what he was billed as coming in, especially.
Yeah, exactly. But, I mean, when we saw him play, we didn't see 25-yard scrambles, and him keeping read options and taking them 20 yards.
You saw more of that from Will McBride.
Yeah. You saw more of the dual threat capabilities from Will McBride. And I felt like Garantano, he's a pass first guy, and he could tuck the ball maybe in last resort type thing. And I mean, Killer Chris, same way. I mean, he's not the best athlete, but I mean, basically there isn't too much of a difference there where you can say, oh, we have a running type quarterback and we have a pocket passer type quarterback. So I feel like one guy will win this job. And the main thing is you don't bring in a grad transfer just to sit on the bench. And that little part is what I can't get past me.
Sure.
So right now I'm going to say Chris will win the job.
Okay. But
the way Garantano played, he's definitely put his nose deep in this competition. And he had his faults. I mean, like I said, 15 to 27 isn't the best, numbers in the world. But I'll give Keller Chris the slight advantage just for that reason alone. Yeah.
For sure. And, I will sort of respond to your query there. And it's like, personally, my own personal, coaching philosophy, I guess, is I don't think there's a problem playing 2 quarterbacks. I think if you have 2 guys that you legitimately, feel like both could give your team a chance to win, especially when you're a first-year head coach and you're figuring out what you're working with, why not play them both? Especially when you're not in the SEC schedule yet, in the first couple games, why not give them both a chance? I mean, that's the way you can, you can see every day, you can see in practice, one player might throw better to receivers when there's no one guarding him or whatever, but you won't know until you're in that stadium, on the field, directing the offense with the crowd blaring behind you. That's who who your leader is. And so I personally wouldn't have any problem playing 2 quarterbacks if I was the head coach of the Vols, but I'm not. Jeremy Pruitt is, and he's also working with Tyson Helton, and I don't see them doing that. I think Tyson Helton, he's a guy that, worked with Sam Darnold. He's been a big quarterback guy. That's what he, is at Western Kentucky, and his quarterback there played very well, set records. He's a guy that likes his quarterbacks, has relationships with his quarterbacks, and I think he and Jeremy Pruitt are not guys that I would see running 2 quarterbacks. I think they are more conservative about it in that way. I think, they're not 2 guys that want to be gimmicky, want to do something to throw the defense off balance. They want to run these plays. They want one guy out there, and they'll beat you through physicality and not through gimmicks or tricks. So I wouldn't have a problem with it, but I think Jeremy Pruitt and Tyson Helton would. I do not think that they will. I do not think that they will play 2 quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And I'm actually gonna, I'm gonna say I think Garantano will get the start.
Okay.
Personally, I think that his leash will be pretty short. That's not to say that they're about to yank him or there'll be a controversy, but if you have that grad transfer there and you have a guy that, especially if it was a really close race in the summer and then fall camp, I think that, you could see Chris come in. If Garantano, falters, doesn't play well through maybe 2 games, you could see Chris getting that start before the SEC schedule kicks off. So I think Garantano will get the start, but I think there is a good chance that we would still see Keller Christ. I think that's definitely something to watch out for, and we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, because, I mean, you have the positives and the negatives with both quarterbacks. We mentioned the different style of offenses that Helton, showed in the spring game, and I feel like Chris will come in experienced in more of the pro-style offense, being that he played at Stanford, and, they do a lot of stuff under center.
Sure.
While Garantano spent, pretty much all of his snaps, last year out of the shotgun.
Yep.
And so – and what we saw some troubles with snaps a little bit, did we, in the spring game?
Yeah, a little bit. I think so.
I think so. I'm not sure, but Garantano, he'll probably have to get a little bit more comfortable under center, while vice versa for Keller Chris. But I agree with you on that short lease. Whoever wins it, they'll probably have a short lease, especially if it's Garantano, because you don't want to make the grad transfer. I mean, you probably have to. To get a grad transfer to come to your school, you probably got to tell him you're going to give him a pretty good chance at starting, because, if I'm a grad transfer, I'm not going somewhere where it's a highly unlikely chance I'll play.
Don't want to waste your time, yep.
Exactly. So, you come to play. But, it'll be a very interesting battle. But, I think the offense in the spring game, they definitely lit it up. But there were some positives on defense, too.
Yep, there were. Yep, well, that's going to wrap it up for us today, guys. The last episode of Checkerboard Chat for the season. Thanks for watching this one. Thanks again for watching every one of them. We have had a great time. Thanks for bearing with us through this year. A lot of Tennessee news here, but we've been right here with you. So thanks again. Be sure, as always, to check out the Daily Beacon website, Daily Beacon Sports section. Follow us on Twitter. And be looking out for Will Backus and Blake Von Hagen next year on Checkerboard Chat. They'll be taking over. So thanks for watching, guys. And this is Tyler Wombles, and that's DeMichael Cole. And see you later.